Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Read It or Yeat It. Okay? I have seen so many people working on their physical TBR, which is exactly what this series is going to be all about. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to get it down, but I decided that it was going to be a random generator. I put all of the books that I have on my physical TBR on my Fables Want to Read, and I'm going to let it choose a book and have to either read the book or start it and then decide that I do not want it on my shelf anymore. And if that is the case, I will go to my local used bookstore and exchange it. And then I get to shop around to grab one that I actually do want to read. Instead of having that one on my shelf, I will then have a new used book that I will have to read in that video. So at least I will still be getting a book off of my shelf and I'll be reading something that I genuinely really want to read. So I do have 54 books on my physical TBR, which I feel like is a lot, but it's not impossible to get through. I would really, really love to have like 10 books. If I had 10 books sitting on my bedside table, even like 5. If I had like 5 books, okay? I'm just imagining it. If I had 5 books sitting on my bedside table and that's all I had to choose from, and then if I wanted to go to the bookstore to grab a book, I could, and I wouldn't feel so bad having all of these books sitting on my shelf, I think I would feel amazing. So that is what we're gonna do in this series. We are gonna be reading, I guess, like 50 of the books. We're gonna be reading a ton of books and I cannot wait. I'm going to let the Fable generator pick the first book that we are going to be reading, and then we will get to reading the first book and we will see if I'm going to read it or eat it. Happy Wednesday. This is the first update for We Could Be Rats. I'm on page 60, I think I'm on page 59 already. So I've read a decent amount. Huge trigger warning if you're thinking of reading this book. I had no idea, but the whole book is written as different suicide note attempts. So each chapter is another attempt to write their suicide note. Just like all of Emily Austen's books, there's still some humor in it. Obviously extremely dark humor, and it feels almost wrong to laugh at certain parts, but that's kind of what Emily Austen does best. The premise of the book is we have our main character and they are writing a suicide note. They see their suicide as a very trivial matter and that it doesn't really matter too much, and they don't think that people are going to be too upset about it. And you see the process of them writing these suicide notes. They are wanting the note to make the person reading it feel better and remember them as a happy person. So they keep reattempting to write it and write about a different memory that they have that they were really happy in. But by the end of it, each time it turns a little bit dark and they realize they need to start over and find another memory where darkness hasn't seeped in. And I'm finding it really interesting. I just love Emily Austen's writing so much and I'm excited to keep reading. I'm hoping that by the end the notes progress quite a bit and you see like character growth throughout it, almost like they're journaling, but we'll see. That's what I'm hoping. So I'm gonna get to reading. I am now on page 133, so a little bit of the ways in, And it's so interesting because in each suicide note, or in a lot of the suicide notes, the character kind of is trying to say why it is that they are going to be doing this. They keep coming up with a reason and then being like, oh, actually, I don't know why I said that. And then saying the next real reason. And then maybe in the next one, they're like, remember when I said that? Actually, that's not true. This is why. And it keeps getting me every single time. Like, I know it's coming, but I believe it every single time. It's quite interesting seeing the characters' thought process as they're writing these and trying to decide what's the best thing to say and what's the best way to explain the situation. Also doing a lot of like people pleasing as they're doing it. Like, what would other people like to hear? And then they change their mind. They're like, actually, I shouldn't do it for other people. Maybe I'll do it like this other way. So it's interesting seeing the thought process. And I think they're planning on giving this like whole bulk book to their sister, have kind of a challenging relationship with, and having them like proofread it. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I haven't seen like as much development as I was hoping to, but we'll see. There's still a decent chunk left, and maybe we will see that coming to the end. I just got to page 142. If you have read this book, I feel like you know exactly what point I'm talking about, but oh my gosh. I was not really ready for a plot twist, so wow. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but if you've read it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. As you saw in the last clip, I just finished We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen. And the second half was quite different than the first half, like what I was talking about with the regular dark humor that she uses and focusing on a more serious mental health topic. The second half kind of just took away all of the humor and it was very serious, which I think was important for this topic, especially just because it is such a serious topic. And I think that the characters were developing a more serious mindset to what was happening. I think that the more that the characters grew, the more serious the story became, which I thought was really well done. Something that I really liked about this book was all of the conversation around not following societal expectations as you grow up into an adult. The main character in this book, she felt very out of place as people were growing up into adults or even just into becoming a teenager. And she had a relationship with a friend who also felt that way, and they kind of made each other feel less alone. There's a lot of conversation around how she decided to live her life as an adult and how her family was perceiving it. I looked at Emily Austen's recommended books and I noticed that a lot of the books that she recommends and the books that she enjoys are books that do follow the same conversation. Like Convenience Store Woman is one of my favorite books ever, following a woman who works at a convenience store. She is perfectly happy with the life that she's living. She feels the most comfortable working at the convenience store that she ever has in her life, but people are still asking her, when are you getting married? When are you going to get a real job? When are you going to have kids? And for her, she's like living her best life, the one that works best for her and how her mind works. And it's interesting seeing how people put these expectations on people, thinking that, oh, they must not be very happy, they must not be very fulfilled because they wouldn't be in their situation. But it's a good reminder to listen to those around you and listen to what they're telling you rather than what you think that they're feeling. I found those parts of this book extremely interesting. There was also a big focus on the dynamic of the main character and their sister because they were brought up together, they experienced a lot of the same traumas together, but they turned out very differently despite these shared experiences. And it also explored their relationship and how difficult it has been for them. But all in all, I really enjoyed this book. I think I would give it maybe like a 4 stars. It wasn't my absolute favorite from Emily Austen, but I really did enjoy it. And I'm very happy that I read it and I got it off of my TBR shelf. So in this video, we started with 54 books that I have to read. We got it down to 53. But while I was filming this, I had a pre-ordered book that arrived. So we went back up to 54. And my mom had a bunch of book of the month credits, so she sent me 3 books. So now we are at 57 books. We have gone up during this video, but that's okay. That just means that I have to film more of these videos and get more books off my shelf. And hopefully they will all be just as good as Weekly Rats. So I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.